Have you ever had the feeling that your head is not quite big enough to hold everything you need to remember? When I was taking notes for university, I used to write down everything into one central notebook with tabs for different classes, only to realise I never went back to them and it was near impossible to find relevant information when you needed it. I recently read How to Take Smart Notes by Zunki Ahrens, and it changed my note-taking and writing habits, for the better. The Zettelkasten knowledge management system is the reason why. Today, we'll explore the note-taking system behind one of the most insanely productive people in the history of productive people, or just scholars. We will look into Niklas Luhmann, who championed the Zettelkasten method. His unique knowledge management system allowed him to publish over 70 books and over 400 scholarly articles. Insanely productive. Let's take a look at how it works. Zettelkasten is a German word for slipbox. Niklas Luhmann wrote his key ideas on Zettels, or small index cards, filed in a cabinet. Each of those would contain one complete idea. This could be a sentence or a paragraph, but it had to fit onto the card. This constraint worked because it forced ideas to be broken down into the simplest forms and clarified. He spoke about his system as a conversational partner, as all of the cards had reference numbers and each created explicit reference links. The creative merging of his ideas took place not in his brain, but in the conversation with his first and second brain. The cards allowed him to build up a huge web of linked knowledge, to which he referred to whenever he needed a starting idea or an argument in his papers. By his death, Luhmann had produced over 90,000 cards. The power of those cards is not in the cards itself, but rather the links in between them. How to start your own Zettelkasten. Step 1. Write fleeting notes. Fleeting notes are all about remembering your thoughts. They can be fleeting ideas or notes you would have written in the margin of a book, or quotes that you would have underlined in a book. They have no value except as a stepping stone towards making literature notes and permanent notes. Make sure you paraphrase or write down your thoughts and response only. The value of the index card is not in accumulating knowledge, it is your response to the knowledge. This will force you to engage really deeply with your reading material and really think about what you are writing and intending to remember at a later date. Step 2. Write literature notes. In literature notes, you summarize some of the content of the text, possibly give a citation as well. By doing this, you are allowing yourself to come back to the original, but your response may not be quite the same as the first time you saw the note. It's probably worth mentioning here that I tend to do step 1 and 2 simultaneously. When I'm reading a book or an article, I usually have random thoughts that I'll just add as a fleeting note and just carry on reading the book. One thing that was very difficult at the beginning, but is crucial to this method, is that you write your response to the stimulus only. You can't copy and paste and can't quote things. If an idea speaks to you, you need the context of the idea too. You need your thoughts on it. Otherwise, with too little context, you are risking a different interpretation or no interpretation at all, if it's too obscure. Step 3 is to turn all your notes into permanent notes. In a permanent note, each note contains one idea explained fully in complete sentences. This is the more time-consuming aspect of the Zettelkasten. As you turn your fleeting notes and your literature notes into permanent notes, you need to think about them. How do they fit in, and at what point do you want to stumble into those notes again? The reason I like this system is that whenever you write anything on paper, it's very linear, but when you're writing and when you're thinking, it's very non-linear. You can have an idea about the conclusion way before you've had the idea for the main argument. So the question used to be, under which topic do I want to find this note again? Whereas with this, the question becomes, which context do I want to look at this note again? And it's a total game changer. Let's dive a little deeper and find out how we actually use this. So how do we make literature notes? When reading and stumbling across an idea that resonates with you, capture your understanding of it. The core idea of smart notes is that purely extracting highlights is generally a waste of time. If a highlight speaks to you when you take it, but you don't capture the idea that the highlight gave you, you're unlikely to remember the importance of that highlight later. Or even if you do, it might be a very different interpretation. To make permanent notes, after you've rephrased the core ideas in your own words and included the appropriate references to original authors, spend some time recontextualizing the ideas and write down why you should care about this idea, then add tags as an easy way to find it. In Rome Research, I have a few topics that I care about that I regularly research. So if I tag a new note with one of those topics, whenever I click on that topic, that note will flash up. So that way, you are making sure that the idea you spent your time elaborating on will not be wasted away and you will look at it. So why does this method work? Because you're writing notes that you intend to use later on, even as a starting point for something bigger, like article writing or something similar, you will now start to write notes with a purpose, so you know what you are looking for when you're scanning a bit of text. This method also has very short feedback loops, so you learn fast, fail fast, and succeed fast. And if you really understand the concept you're talking about, then you will clarify it in your own words, and it will still make sense. And if you can't do that, then you haven't really understood the concept. So this is the true power of smart notes. Since you're constantly capturing ideas that you're getting from different sources and you're organizing them based on your interests, you will very quickly develop new ideas for articles, books, newsletters, everything. And since each idea is referenced, you don't have to work on one idea at a time, you can work on multiple. And traditional note-taking methods are very hierarchical. They require you to already know what you're going to be writing about before you've written it and put it into categories. This works for some time, but at some point your knowledge is just going to outgrow those categories. You're going to need new ones, and your system's going to start to look very messy and clumsy, at which point most people give up. With Zettelkasten, we get to evolve those note systems. Clusters and categories emerge organically from our notes, and notes evolve based on our changing knowledge and beliefs. So now, with this system, we can start to take notes to think better. And therefore, note-taking can be the tool that can improve our thinking. And neurons in our brains, they're useless without connections, and essentially so are we and our notes. So speaking of effective note-taking, please check out this video on how I set up my own Zettelkasten and Rome Research, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.